I'm Craig Hatch, President and CEO of the Jackson County Chamber of Commerce. We are pleased with the fact that for years the annual MLK Diversity Breakfast has been so meaningful and embraced by so many here in Jackson, making it a premier event for our community and for those in our community. This January, circumstances have made it necessary to change the format a bit and take the breakfast to a virtual celebration. We felt it was very important to make sure we celebrated the life of one of the greatest visionaries, one of the greatest leaders in world history, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. This inspiring community celebration honors not only the legacy of Dr. King, but also celebrates the spirit of diversity within our community. Today we are going to hear from a wide variety of great speakers from our community that we're very proud to have here as part of our celebration. Benefactors of the event today, as always, Challenge Day, a nonprofit organization committed to building empathy and compassion within our communities. Challenge Day is an event every fall inviting 7th graders in our community, along with their faculty and teachers, to better themselves and to better our community. The Chamber, in cooperation with the Jackson Community Foundation, is creating a scholarship for a Jackson County student of color to continue their education to Jackson College, Baker College, or Spring Arbor College. Again, we are very excited to be a part of that program. Now, it is my honor to introduce a leader who is a great supporter of our community, Paula Cunningham, Director of AARP Michigan and presenting sponsor of this great event. Welcome, Paula.
We must accept finite disappointment, but never lose infinite hope. Those words, spoken by the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. more than 50 years ago, never rang truer than they did in 2020. Actually, to say the year 2020 was a year of disappointments is a gross understatement. There was the horrific pandemic, racial strife, and the list goes on, presidential elections that were divisive. But in the midst of it all, there's infinite hope. Thank you, Jackson Chamber of Commerce, for all that you have done and for inviting AARP to be a title sponsor for this event that we have sponsored for a number of years now. This MLK Breakfast and the Challenge Day students and the community organizations that participate in this event are symbols of hope. Throughout the entire year, I was reminded of our ancestors, my ancestors and your ancestors. I was reminded of the path that they trotted for all of us. I was reminded of the hardships and the challenges that they faced in a world that didn't want many of them to even be here. I was reminded of the fact that they couldn't find jobs and they had no financial security. They didn't have insurance cards or access to health care benefits. And in so many ways, the inequities that existed then still exist in many ways today. I was also reminded very fondly of our veterans, those who were particularly drafted from their homes, never knowing if they would ever see their loved ones again to go and fight a war that they did not create. And the more I pondered those histories, that rich history, the more I saw the similarities that exist today. Their paths weren't always clear, their survival wasn't always guaranteed, and the environment in which they lived was not always welcoming. But you know what they shared? They all shared hope. And as a result of their lives, as a result of the kind of hope and the kind of energy and the kind of commitment that they had, it instills in me and encourages me and hopefully encourages you to never, ever lose hope. That kind of hope that gives you determination to continue to fight and to continue to be about the change that you want to see. It is important for all of us, not just to ponder and remember our ancestors and the warriors of the past, but to also immerse ourselves in the presence of current day warriors and to see how we can lift up other people. Warriors like our esteemed speaker today, Lieutenant Governor Garland Gilchrist, who fought hard day and night to make certain he addressed the disparities that existed during this COVID-19 pandemic. Warriors like the Jackson Chamber of Commerce, who fought day and night to make certain that small businesses were able to survive during this pandemic. And even warriors like the Jackson District Library, who's working with students in the midst of everything else that's going on to help them deliver excerpts from Dr. Martin Luther King's speech today. It takes all of us. It takes all of us to make change and to help lift up our communities. And so many times we wait for that change. We want others to come and create that change. But we are the change. We are the change that we want to see. It is our voice, our efforts, our work, our initiative that's going to make a difference. And that's why I love AARP so much. AARP is about the work. They are about making certain that people improve the quality of life, lowering prescription drug prices, having access to financial security, making certain they have access to quality health care, making certain that they do whatever they can to help veterans get the access to the resources that they need. And we don't do that alone. We do that with our esteemed volunteer group that resides right here in Jackson, who works continuously to improve their communities. We do that with Mayor Dobies, who has already certified Jackson as an age-friendly community, as one of the leaders in that area. We do that with the District 2 Area Agency on Aging, and with the Ella Sharp Museum, and with JTV, all of us working together to make certain that we can continue the journey that we are on, the journey that our ancestors saw for each of us for a brighter day, and a journey that reminds us of those words from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. so many years ago, that in the midst of it all, in the midst of all the disappointment, that there is always hope. Thank you for allowing me to address this esteemed body today. I wish you all the very best. Stay positive and test negative. Have a wonderful year. Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you, Paula, for reminding us of our history, lest we forget, but also our reasons for hope. It's great to have AARP's support of the Chamber and today's celebration. I'm Renelle Weathers and a member of Jackson's MLK Diversity Committee. Dr. King said, "Everybody can be great because anybody can serve. You only need a heart full of grace and a soul generated by love." MLK Diversity Committee's mission is to encourage community collaboration to reflect Dr. King's dream and to motivate youth for service and excellence. Both of our speakers this morning epitomize service and excellence. Our first speaker is Lieutenant Governor Garland Gilchrist. He has dedicated his career to fixing problems for hardworking families, from spearheading campaigns for equity and justice to harnessing technology to solve everyday challenges. Bringing Michigan state government fully into the 21st century is a top priority. He brings a lifetime of experience to the task, receiving his first computer at age 5 and setting up a computer lab in a community recreation center using computers that he built himself at age 16. Lieutenant Governor Garland Gilchrist and his wife, Ellen, currently reside in Detroit, where they are raising their twins, Emily and Garland III, and newborn daughter, Ruby. Let's give a virtual Jackson welcome to our Lieutenant Governor Gilchrist with his message to our students.
This is Michigan Lieutenant Governor Garland Gilchrist, and I am really proud and thankful to be addressing you as part of your Martin Luther King Jr. Day celebration and remembrance. I want you to really take a minute though and understand the importance and significance of this man and his legacy and his impact on our society. I think the biggest lesson from Dr. King is really one of courage. The courage to do what is important and what is right, even if it's hard, even if it's scary, and even if some people won't like you for it. Being right is not always popular, but always fighting for justice, always looking to help people, always seeking equity in every situation and at every opportunity. That's what matters, and that's what's important. And that's really what he represented. This isn't something that was always sugar-coated, that was always fun. A lot of times it was hard and it was dangerous. But all of us have a responsibility to do our best to make space for other people to do and be their best. And that's really all Dr. King was talking about. In his case, he was really fighting against racism and oppression, against judging people because they had less than other people, or looked different from other people, or sounded different from other people. We have an opportunity every single day to right these wrongs when we see them in our own actions and call them out when others are doing the wrong thing. I've certainly tried to do this in my life. As a black man growing up here in Michigan, I've lived in other parts of the country, and I have seen and borne the brunt of my share of direct racism, whether it was from passersby on the street, whether it was from law enforcement officials who unjustly pulled me over and harassed me, whether it just was a cutting look or a glance that made me uncomfortable because I made someone else uncomfortable. We have to recognize that it's our responsibility to take up the space that we occupy in this world by creating space for others. Be proud, stand tall, do your best, work hard, play hard, love hard, fight for what's right and what you believe in. Fight so other people can fight for what's right and what they believe in. Do not sit down when you can stand up to injustice. Dr. King said, any threat to justice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. So if you see something, it's your responsibility not just to say something, but to do something about it. That is how we create space to make history. That's how we change the present and the future for the better. As young people, you have not only the moral authority, but the moral clarity that your elders, even younger ones like me, lack. We need you to step into your power and purpose. I hope that on this Martin Luther King Jr. holiday, you will take time to reflect, to think about what's important to you and how you can help someone else see what's important to them. I spent part of my career not just as a software developer, making software for office products, but also as a community organizer. And as a community organizer, I learned how to show people how powerful they are. You are powerful. Your power inspires me and every adult in your life, even if they don't always show it. They need you to be your biggest, boldest, brightest, and strongest self. So I need you to do it too. So this year, 2021, after all of the craziness that was last year, 2020, I need you to step up and stand tall for Jackson County. I need you to step up and stand tall for Michigan. But most importantly, I need you to step up and stand tall for you. I know you can do great things. I'm excited about the amazing accomplishments that you will achieve, and I am eager to be part of them. So thank you so much for being you and for what you've already done, and I'm so, so grateful for what you will do in the future. Thank you and take care. Happy MLK Day.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor Gilchrist, for motivating our students to stand up and stand tall. Our next speaker, Kevin Brown, is Chief Diversity Officer and Director of Intercultural Relations at Spring Arbor University. He has over 30 years of experience in secondary and higher education, as well as community leadership. He has served as an advisor to 3 university presidents on issues of diversity, inclusion, and community engagement. He has also held numerous executive positions for Cleveland Municipal School District in Cleveland, Ohio. And he has additional experience in the corporate arena as well as in the nonprofit sector. Kevin earned a bachelor's degree in sociology with a concentration in African American studies from Williams College, and will complete a master's degree in strategic communication and leadership from Spring Arbor University this spring. Kevin is married to the love of his life, Nancy, and they have 3 children. Engraved on Dr. King's monument on the National Mall in Washington, D.C. are the words, "Out of the mountain of despair, a stone of hope." This is the theme of the overall design of the monument. Our next speaker's life and journey is a message of hope. Please welcome Kevin Brown.
Good morning. My name is Kevin Brown, and I serve as the Chief Diversity Officer at Spring Arbor University. I would just like to first say thank you to Renell Weathers, Ron Griffith, and the Chamber of Commerce for the opportunity to bring you a few words this morning as we celebrate the life and legacy of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. First, I thought it would be important to share a little bit about me so that you understand my perspective and viewpoint. Then I will remind us of what Dr. King was working so hard to accomplish for African Americans and by extension for all of us. Next, what he might think of the current state of affairs in our country, and then finally, a call to action. I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio. My mom and I lived in a modest home, and she worked 2 jobs in order to make ends meet for myself and for my sister. I was a latchkey kid. For those that might not be familiar with that term, it means I went home alone after school and took care of myself until my mom came home from work. I had a large extended family that helped to provide community, guidance, and love for me growing up. I was also involved in the Big Brothers Big Sisters program of Greater Cleveland, as well as a program called Friendly Town. Now, Friendly Town had a profound effect on me. Let me give you a little background first. Beginning in 1960, and in step with the National Civil Rights Movement, the nationwide Friendly Town program, funded by the Community Renewal Society, formerly known as the Chicago Missionary Society, collaborated with the Mlk House and various other social agencies to provide children with a chance to experience life outside the inner city. The program had 2 purposes: to give children of all races and faiths a good time and a new experience with middle-class living beyond the inner city, and for the host family to gain from the experience by acquiring a new awareness of other cultures and a new friend. Children ages 6 to 11 participating in Friendly Town were sent to approved host families for a 2-week stay outside of the city. At age 9, I spent 2 weeks living with the Nussbaum family in Kidron, Ohio. They were a Mennonite family that had a dairy farm and 5 boys. Their youngest son, Kip, was my age. I quickly became their 6th son, and I just so happened to have the best and most even suntan. I was up at 5 a.m. milking cows, doing chores, and learning a lot. It was my first experience with cows, horses, snakes, and even tractors. The Nussbaums didn't have a TV, a PlayStation, or an Xbox. They did have a radio, and on occasion we would listen to the baseball game. We spent more time talking and listening to one another as a way of learning about each other. My Nussbaum family wanted to know what it was like for me growing up in Cleveland. I erased some stereotypes and confirmed others as it related to city living. We were surrounded by Amish neighbors, and I got to know them well, too. The thing about the Nussbaum family was that they genuinely treated me with the love that Christ calls us to have for one another. It didn't matter what I looked like or where I was from, because as we grew in relationship, it became clear that we shared common values like hard work, love of Christ, good food, helping others, and of course, family. You see, I learned there is much more that unites us than divides us. After my first 2-week summer with them, I went back, and instead of 2 weeks, I spent 2 months for the next 4 summers. It was an important and impactful time for me. As I mentioned earlier, I was also involved with the Big Brothers Big Sisters program. I had 2 big brothers, Bill Hooper and Steve Terrell. Bill was my first big brother, and Steve happened to be his roommate. They were both young, white, Ivy League educated guys, and they saw more in me than I saw in myself or knew that I had to offer the world. When Bill left Cleveland for grad school in California, Steve naturally stepped in. Now, I'm not talking about being some charity case or some social experiment, but they showed me and my family genuine, honest love and care. I remember them having dinner with our family for Thanksgiving. As is a family tradition in many African American homes, one of the items on the menu was pork chitterlings, or as we call them, chitlins. Now, if we were together in person this morning, I could just imagine the laughter and gasps coming from those of you that are well-versed in this experience, because let's just say chitlins are an acquired taste. Bill and Steve were so brave and genuinely wanted to sample some when my mom offered it to them. They agreed, and she asked, "Are you sure?" Needless to say, extra napkins were needed. Now, some would say, now that's love right there. There was a willingness to learn from one another and not make assumptions or stereotypes. When I was with them, I never sat in front of a television or spent hours playing video games. We talked and listened to one another to enrich our relationship. Not only did we share a love for football, basketball, and chocolate ice cream, not so much for chitlins, but also common values like good education, hard work, respect, love of family, and service to others. The result of that genuine love and care later opened doors for me to learn about and receive an opportunity to get a phenomenal education at one of the finest colleges in the United States. And my life's calling since then has been to consistently find ways to pay it forward. Again, there's far more that unites us than divides us. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. sought to raise the public consciousness of racism, to end racial discrimination and segregation in the United States. His goal was racial equality, and his methodology was nonviolence. I'm reminded of two portions of his letter from the Birmingham jail as I reflect on what he might think of where we are today. While we have made progress in this country since the Voting Rights Act of 1964 and 65, I think that Dr. King would be saddened and disappointed by the culture and actions in our country, especially regarding justice and race relations. Dr. King's quoting of Justice Earl Warren's own words from the Birmingham jail that justice too long delayed is justice denied. We have work to do in our country. We have hearts to mend and systems to reform. The second quote from the Birmingham jail that I think also applies to us today is, as King argued in one of his most famous phrases, that he could not sit idly by in Atlanta because injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We can no longer be afraid to stand up and speak out. In the famous opening to the great sermon known as the Beatitudes, Jesus taught, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God." That's Matthew 5:9. The Apostle Paul wrote in Romans 12:18, the New King James Version, "If it is possible, as much as depends on you, live peaceably with all men." Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. knew that his work and his faith were inextricably linked. He sought equality and peace. As we celebrate his life and his legacy, we must learn to listen to one another, not just to hear, but to learn. At the March on Washington, most, if not all, of the 250,000 people in attendance for the speech had an interest in hearing what Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. had to say, whether you agreed with him or not. There were politicians from the South that were not interested in furthering civil rights, but were still focused on his words. We need to transform our culture where curiosity, not knowing, seeking out the other, finding comfort with discomfort, and engaging in productive tension are the norm. Listening to one another to learn each other's narrative in order to develop authentic relationships is the beginning of our healing process. We have to learn how to truly listen, practice listening, understand, be heard, and seek common ground without attempting to change minds or having to compromise deeply held values. So, in closing, I hope that we can each look into our own individual and collective experiences and find the threads of commonality that bind us together. It will take all of us collectively if we are to succeed, no matter if you are white, black, or brown. We need each other. Finally, a call to action. I would invite you to join me and others on this journey to become a truer reflection of who God calls us to be especially during these polarizing times of racial unrest. It is time for us to stand up and lead, but we first must recognize and reconcile our own shortcomings. As author Dallas Willard points out in Renovation of the Heart, we don't believe something by merely saying we believe it, or even when we believe that we believe it. We believe something when we act as if it were true. Let us begin to develop authentic relationships and listen to one another. I still believe in people. As broken as we are, I still believe in you. To paraphrase the words of the great King T'Challa from the wonderful Marvel film Black Panther, we must work to be an example of how we as brothers and sisters on this earth should treat one another now more than ever. The illusions of division threaten our very existence, for there is far more that unites us than divides us. In times of crisis, the wise build bridges, but the foolish build barriers. We must find a way to take care of one another as if we were one family, because we are. May God bless you and God keep you.
Thank you, Kevin, for your inspiring words and call to action. As a thank you, the committee will present you with a replica of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Monument. We so appreciate your words this morning. Next, we have Danielle Mahoney, President of the Jackson County branch of the NAACP. Danielle, take it away.
Hello, everybody. My name is Daniel Mahoney, and I have the distinct honor and privilege of being the president of the Jackson County branch NAACP. It is such an honor to be invited to be involved and included in today's event. And I just want to thank the Chamber and Pat and Craig and everybody at the Chamber for inviting me to be involved in today and tell you a little bit about myself. So, of course, like I said, I'm the Jackson County branch president. I'm also a Jackson County commissioner, but not here to talk about the county commission today. I'm here to talk about the work of Dr. King and how we continue that work. One of my favorite quotes from Dr. King is, "The time is always right to do what's right." And my favorite quote from myself is, "The time is now." So the time is now for us to realize that even through all the struggles, all the anguish and the pain that we faced over the last year, all of the ups and downs of our community, one thing that has seemed to have kept its spirit is the spirit of entrepreneurship, the spirit of building businesses, the spirit of being in business and supporting local businesses. One thing I love about Jackson is how much everybody loves to support the community of businesses that we have here. There's definitely a ton more work that we need to do and work on as a community, but I'm here as a representative of this community to let you know that there are still some good things happening.
You know how people always say, well, it's nothing in Jackson. So I feel like what would be nice if our hometown had something fun and trendy and different. So I wanted to bring something fun and exciting for our community that they could do. Our bakery is called RJ's Heavenly Delights. It's named after our son that passed away. Actually, it was kind of like therapy at first. It was just an outlet to a hard situation. My daughter had asked me to make her a birthday cake, a Barbie birthday cake, and I YouTubed it, did it, and it kind of just grew from there. I started going to classes and traveling, taking different classes, and I just wanted something in memory of our son, so it's just kind of like our family connection to him. I feel like it would make him proud.
We went through counseling when we lost our son, and one of our counselors sort of kind of prophesized a little bit of this stuff that's going on. She said we would be business owners, we both would leave our jobs, and I mean, when you have 45-minute waits outside, it started coming clearer and clearer every day that, hey, you need to be all in now, now's the time, So I jumped all in, and it's been, haven't missed a beat, it's been a blessing. Well, I think businesses like ours is very important because you got a lot of people that has also have a vision and a dream to be business owners. And me and my wife, we grew up on the South Side, and I think a lot of people maybe look up to us and feel like they can do it as well. So that's been a blessing. We share advice with people. We get mentored from people, and we sort of, we pass it back. We always pass it back. You know what I mean? Pay it forward, I should say.
But the Blazer looks at the positive things, the great contributions. The Blazer's just been a staple, but more important than just a newspaper. They've helped white Americans, white Jacksonians, to see that on the south side of Jackson, at JPS, at Consumers Energy, at Allegiance Health, African Americans are doing some wonderful, wonderful things and a critical participant in our community.
There was certainly more positive achievements in this city than mainstream media was willing to portray. They were interested in something sensationalized journalism. So the Jackson Blazer got its birth, and immediately it was a big hit in Jackson. As I go through old papers and I see how the whole city was galvanized, and there was excitement, and from the social community, the religious community, the educational community, all can be seen in the early pages of the Jackson Blazer.
I learned a long time ago, history is his story, who's ever telling it. And I feel as though the editor of the Blazer doesn't write through their lens, but write through the victims or the warriors or the heroes' lens. And so when I read a story in the Blazer, it's like talking to that person face to face. And so I thank God for that. Just the ability to be able to hear someone who might be silenced.
I remember a time when I didn't have the courage to do it. And at the end of the day, when no one's around, I think, oh my God, what if I wouldn't have got the courage to step forward and just be who I am? Just be who you are and follow your work, which is really your dreams. You never know how many people you're gonna get to help when you're just yourself. And that's what happened here for me. I just stepped forward, became myself, and because of it, we have been able to help a lot of families.
I think the impact is for long term is going to be amazing, because they're going to think back on that one day when I didn't have anything but one diaper or one wipe or no toilet paper, and someone stopped by and brought me a bag full of things that I needed. That one act of love can change somebody's life.
Like even with starting with this, I wasn't able to get any type of loans. I did all this out of my own pocket. This was all just for me, each paycheck, putting money aside, this and that, and investing. I started out smaller, with the different bottles, just little ones, and advancing to the larger ones. And then I said, you know what? I'm gonna look for a storefront, because I wanted everybody to feel welcome and coming in, because I was in a suite in the Commonwealth building. And I said, I want men to be able to come in. I want women, to feel comfortable to come in. They kind of do a self-serve, and I just had this whole grand idea, but I'm like, how am I gonna make it happen when I don't have the whole capital, to be able to just go in and fully stock my store, and everything. So I take little bit by little bit, and I get excited when I think about bringing in a different something, add it to the store, and searching and finding different vendors and, websites to try to build to bring in more, product and everything. But it's definitely, that's one thing I'll say, is definitely rough. It can be. It was starting out, everything was rough, just building, but it was exciting at the same time, because I was crushing down one of my goals, one of my things, so I like to put my best foot forward all the time. I represent, women of color, just women in general, and I like to be, to make sure that I'm doing all that I can do. And I'll tell anybody that if that's what you decide you want to do, put your best foot forward, make it happen, represent yourself well, be consistent. That's where my drive comes from. Because I believe I have others, watching me, looking at me, and I want to make sure that I'm representing all women, just people in general that, is kindness still out here. It's people that's loving, caring, and that really want to do the best that they can do with everything that they decide to do.
Well, because I don't have the entrepreneurial spirit, I don't know where they got that from. But for someone to pursue their dream out of a passion, go for it. What's the saying? The world is an oyster or something like that? Yeah, go for it.
Because we're just now beginning to get traction, but we began 2 years ago. So just now getting traction. In those 2 years, there are days when you absolutely are gonna wanna walk away from it all, but you have to remember your why, what drives you at the beginning, then that's what will continue to help push you forward. And then when people begin to see the passion that you put in your work, I think that's what helps to sustain you. So I would just say go for it, but know that it's not easy. It is not easy, and you will want to give up, but you just have to, continue. Keep yourself grounded with people around you who believe in you. That is so helpful, because it can be hard to start something when, of course you want to believe in yourself. You would be the first to believe in it, but if you don't have people that believe in you and support you, it makes it all the more difficult. Not to say that you can't, but it does make it difficult. So.
Families are great. The support, the love, our children, they help with setup sometimes. I'm like, okay, we need all hands on deck, and they're there like, okay, what can we do? So just to show my children, you can do it. Like, if it's something that you want to do, you can do it. Like, just go for it. And you'll never know if you can do it if you never try. So it's okay. And sometimes you have to do it scared, but still do it. Believe in yourself. Even if no one else believes in you, believe in yourself. I have a little thing in my daughter's room, and it says, be the girl that decided to go for it. Just go for it.
Next, we'll hear from the Jackson Community Foundation's president and CEO, Monica Mosier. Her words will be about the new Chamber Scholarship.
Hi there, I'm Monica Moser, President and CEO of the Jackson Community Foundation, and we're excited to be here today for the MLK Diversity Celebration. The Jackson Community Foundation has been working really hard to embed equity across all of the parts of what the Community Foundation does in the community, and we wanted to take a minute to share with you what we've been doing. The first thing we've been doing is looking at our board and committee structure and making sure that we have diverse perspectives throughout our whole organization. And as you can imagine, that takes some time to build diverse perspectives and get to know people we don't usually know and orient them to the work of the foundation. The other thing we did last year was we really embedded equity in our grant-making processes. And that culminated in the Tackling Systemic Racism grant round we did last summer. And one of the things that we did was we incorporated community voice in the way that we make decisions about the grant proposals that we received. And we were excited to hold the community's perspective at the center of the way the grant committee made those decisions and the recommendation we made to the board for approval. And so that experience led us to go deeper and continue to work on all of the other policies and practices that the Community Foundation has been doing for over 70 years to make sure that we are advancing equity and embedding diversity and inclusion in all of the things that we do so that our community is strong and that we understand the voice of all of the people that make our community the community that it is. One of the other things that the Jackson Community Foundation did last year is we looked at our Jackson Legacy Scholarship Program. If you've been in Jackson for a little while, you probably heard about the Legacy Scholarship that started in 2008, and the goal was to help students go to one of our 3 local colleges and to hopefully stay here in Jackson and make Jackson a stronger place. And one of the things we realized as a community foundation is that we're really good at helping students start their educational career, but it wasn't really helping us with our ultimate goal, which is to help our community have more people with an advanced degree so that we become a stronger community. And so we realized there was a disconnect between what we were hoping to achieve and the policies and practices that we had in place. So we took 2020 as a year to really reflect and do our research, and we launched a new legacy scholarship that students are applying for right now as we speak. And one of the things we're really excited about is the Chamber saw the value of the Jackson Legacy Scholarship, and with the support they received from all of the sponsorships today for the MLK celebration, are helping to leverage that Legacy Scholarship to honor more students to complete their degrees in our community.
Thank you, Monica. We are so extremely proud to be a part of the scholarship. Next, we have something very special for you.
We must be bold, we must believe, we must not give up. Dr. King reminds us in his book, Where Do We Go From Here, Chaos or Community? We must walk on in the days ahead of us with audacious faith in the future. For more than a century, Lift Every Voice and Sing has held a powerful place in American history. The hymn is known as the Black National Anthem, but it is more than that. It is a history lesson. It is a battle cry, a pledge for unity, equality, and justice for all. Listen to this first stanza, and then hear these words from the drum major himself, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Lift every voice and sing, till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise, high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud like the rolling sea. Sing a song full of faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won.
Every now and then, I guess we all think realistically about that day when we'll be victimized with what's life's final common denominator, that something that we call death. We all think about it, and every now and then I think about my own death, and I think about my own funeral, and I don't think of it in a morbid sense. And every now and then I ask myself, what is it that I would want said? And I leave the word to you this morning.
If you are there for when I have to meet my day, tell them I don't want to have a long funeral. And if you get somebody to deliver my eulogy, every now and then I wonder what they're going to say. Don't tell them how I have the Nobel Peace Prize. That's not important. And don't tell them I have 300 to 400 different awards. Don't even tell them where I went to school.
I'd like somebody to mention the day that Martin Luther King Jr. gave his life to support others. I want you to say the day that Martin Luther King Jr. tried to love someone. I want you to say the day that I tried to get the answer to the war question. I want you to say the day that I tried to feed the hungry. I want you to say the day that I tried to clothe the naked. And I want you to remember throughout my life, I tried to visit those who were in prison. And I want you to remember most of all that I loved and sacrificed myself for humanity.
Yes, if you want to say that I was a drum major, say that I was a drum major for justice. Say that I was a drum major for peace. I was a drum major for righteousness, and all of the other shallow things will not matter. I won't have money to leave behind. I won't have the fine, luxurious things of life to leave behind, but I just want to leave behind a committed life, and that's all I want to say.
If I can help somebody as I pass along, if I can cheer somebody with a word or a song, if I can teach somebody that he's traveling wrong, then my living will not be in vain. If I can do my duty as a Christian ought, if I can bring salvation to a world once wrought, if I can spread the message as the Master taught, then my living will not be in vain.
On April 3, 1968, Dr. King was in Memphis, Tennessee in support of the striking sanitation workers. This is the powerful ending of his message, "I've been to the mountaintop." The next day, he was assassinated on the balcony of the Lorraine Motel.
Well, I don't know what will happen now. We've got some difficult days ahead, but it doesn't matter with me now, because I've been to the mountaintop, and I don't mind. Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place, but I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will, and He's allowed me to go up to the mountain, and I've looked over, and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. And I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
Today we remember the dreamer. Happy birthday, Dr. King.
The Chamber with this celebration is honored to be a recipient of the wonderful work from the Lift Every Voice grants. For a going forth message, Lee Hampton, Vice President of Diversity, Inclusion, and Belonging, and Chief Diversity Officer, Jackson College.
Greetings to our beloved Jackson community. We're so excited about the great keynote address that we just heard. We want to take those words, that inspiration, that direction, and implement it in our lives and in our community. We have a great Jackson, going back from the days of Captain Sparks, going overseas to Europe, coming back, building the Cascades, to Mr. Worthington, who the football field is named after, to James McDivitt, went outer space, to Tony Dungy, first African American to win Super Bowl as a head football coach, to Babby Mason, Wade, who sung with Billy Graham and great other singers for presidents, to the Black History Tour Group, to currently Al Glick and the great things he's doing in philanthropy all over the U.S., especially at the University of Michigan and here in Jackson, to our local legends, Bart Hawley and Alan Wade with the Blazer, and Greg O'Connor, and beloved memory, Jamie McKibben. All these individuals, we stand on their shoulders, and we can join hands together to make 2021 and beyond Dr. King's vision coming to fruition right here in our Jackson community at a higher level than ever before. I believe with the inspiration we received today and with the bright hopes of tomorrow, we can make it happen. Thank you so much. Let's go. Continue to make the dream come true in our Jackson community. Hi, I'm Lee Hampton, Jackson College, and we're proud to support the MLK Diversity Breakfast because Dr. Martin Luther King was a game changer. And to keep his legacy, his memory alive, and all the things that he was so passionate about regarding diversity and the equality of all humanity is paramount, especially in today's world and today's time. We're very, very thankful to have the opportunity to support such a worthy cause.
Hi, my name is Janelle Merritt, and I'm the Vice President of Community Partnerships at American One Credit Union. We are proud to continue to support the Chamber's Martin Luther King Jr. Diversity Celebration event. At American One, we are stronger when we enact change based on many voices across a variety of backgrounds and experiences. To hear and understand one another, we must continue to be educated and learn from others. We choose to support efforts like this and Challenge Day because we want our community efforts to reflect the diversity of our staff and our membership, and we thank the Chamber for their support on Martin Luther King Jr. Day. We know a more inclusive and diverse community means we are a stronger community.
Hello everyone, my name is Jeff Beal, I'm the Superintendent for Jackson Public Schools, and we are proud to once again be a gold level sponsor for the Jackson Chamber of Commerce MLK Celebration. This event celebrates Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy and his tireless efforts for racial equality. Dr. King famously said, "If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. And if you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward." We encourage our community to combine our efforts and resources to ensure that all children are treated with respect and provided with equal opportunities that take them wherever they may want to go in life, and help our community to keep moving forward. We are proud of our young students at the Middle School of Parkside who will recite excerpts from Dr. King's Drum Major Instinct sermon. Thank you to the Jackson District Library and the Jackson Chamber for providing this opportunity for our students to be a part of this historic event.
My name is Ben Jones, and I'm with U.S. Staffing Agency. And at U.S. Staffing Agency, our vision is to be the preferred human resources partner for economic development and community prosperity for everyone in our community. And that is really at the heart of what Dr. King and Claudette Colvin and so many others fought for. So when it came time to sponsor the MLK Diversity Breakfast, it's really a chance for us to live our vision.
Hi, I'm Diana Maxwell from True Community Credit Union and a member of our Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging Committee. Our committee works to provide every employee with a sense of inclusion and the ability to come as you are, and ensure our members are safe and valued for embracing us for being different. That is why we are so excited and proud to be celebrating the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Dr. King is my hero. He has inspired me to be a better person, to follow my dreams, for anything is possible, to vote for change, to protest for justice, and to hope that tomorrow will be better than yesterday.
My name is Maisha Jones, and I am the Director of Community Engagement for Henry Ford Allegiance Health. Henry Ford Allegiance is proud to join leaders, educators, and students from across our community for the Chamber's 2021 MLK Diversity Celebration. In contrast to the climate of divisiveness across our country, this annual recognition of Dr. King's powerful legacy unites us and empowers us to stand for what's right. Together, we will use our voices to influence change and will create a more vibrant community where diversity is celebrated, inclusion is a priority, and equity is our standard.
Hello, I'm Brandy Merritt, a proud member of the Consumers Energy family with the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion team. We are so honored and proud to be a part of today's Jackson County Chamber MLK Diversity Celebration. We are committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion. We value all perspectives and we value all people. We foster inclusion through living out our company culture values each and every day. Further, we have taken a public stand against racism, hatred, and bias. Our president and CEO, Garrick Rochelle, has taken a public stand by signing a CEO pledge committing our company to the vision of Dr. Martin Luther King. We have donated more than $2.3 million in support of small businesses throughout Michigan. These donations have provided a lifeline to female-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses, and others. We recognize the value of having a diverse supplier base as we support all and value all perspectives. This support and investment in diverse businesses really demonstrates our commitment to not only our customers, but to the community. A commitment to our triple bottom line: people, planet, and profit. We're excited to share that we've appointed our new Vice President and Chief Diversity Officer, Angela Tompkins, who leads us in our diversity, equity, and inclusion work. We thank you for having us today as a part of the Dr. Martin Luther King Diversity Celebration. We are committed to and support you in your efforts to live out Dr. Martin Luther King's vision. We are diversity. Thank you.
Hi, I am Angela Salmon, the Market Development Manager at Level 1 Bank here in Jackson. We're a local community bank where serving others is our top priority. Our team has lived and worked in Jackson for over 50 years, and so we care about this community, and we are very proud to be able to support this year's event.
Hello everyone, my name is Shamar Heron and I'm the Executive Director of Michigan Works Southeast. We are your premier employment solution partner here in Southeast Michigan, and we do so by creating connections to a better future for employers, job seekers, and community partners. You know, I've had a couple people ask, why are we supporting the MLK Diversity Day? And I tell them connections are and always have been a meaningful piece of our lives, especially connections that positively impact us. You know, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, without love, there is no reason to know anyone. For love will, in the end, connect us to our neighbors, our children, and our hearts. We value this event because it exemplifies one example of why Jackson, Michigan is a great place to work and live. We connect with our neighbors and our children through initiatives such as Challenge Day and the MLK Diversity Celebration. I also want to give a huge shout out to Lieutenant Governor Garland Gilchrist for his continued efforts around diversity, equity, and inclusion. Thank you, LG. In closing, thank you to the Jackson Chamber for hosting this incredibly important event, and thank you to the MLK Diversity Day Committee for keeping the conversation around diversity going. Enjoy the rest of your day, and please remember, let's be kind to one another. Thank you and have a great day.
A special thank you today for our speakers, such inspirational words in memory of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I want to thank in particular today's presenting sponsor, AARP. Additionally, I'd like to thank the viewers. Thank you so much for joining us, and hopefully you enjoyed the show. The MLK Breakfast and Challenge Day Committee and the entire chamber staff, we can't say enough about you. This would not be happening without all of your efforts, so again, we thank you so much. Finally, I'd like to thank the growing list of community leaders, of which I'm humbled to say I'm a part of, who have accepted the CEO Pledge of Jackson Leaders for Equity, a commitment that builds trust, education, collaboration, and accountability. It is with much enthusiasm and excitement we are looking forward to 2021 with our chamber, with our community, and with all of you. Stay safe, and we'll see you soon.